I'm Jamie Allison, and this is the Big Idea, Big Moves podcast. This is the destination for high performers. We talk about whole life success and talk to people from different genres, different just people doing really interesting things in their space. Find out a bit about their journey and what they're doing, and hopefully we can find out some things that we can take away and apply to our own lives as well. We have one of those people today. Really excited about our discussion that's coming up. Just before we do that, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that we have a relationship with Thirdsy. And if you don't know what Thirdsy is, it's basically they have natural products that help athletes and high performers get better rest and recovery from physical and mental stress. And they have a PM recovery collagen. It's melatonin free, it's sedative free, helps you get good rest while supporting joint and muscle repair. So it is something that hopefully you might want to take a look at and see if it's right for you. You can go to thirdsy.com directly, or you can go into our Instagram profile and go through there. And there is a code BIBM20, and I think it gives you 20% off as well if it is something that interests you. So today, really excited to have a real movement and fitness powerhouse. Francheska Martinez is with us. She's known all over the place as FrancheskaFit. She's a certified trainer, entrepreneur, and social media influencer whose philosophy focuses a lot on functional movement, self-mastery, and long-term health, which is important to all the people that listen to our podcast. And she shares that knowledge on online programs, in-person training, retreats, workshops, all those fun things too. So first of all, I know you've been really busy lately, and it's been nice that we get to connect now. So thank you for taking the time with us this morning, Francheska.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, um, you know, one of the things is that you, from my understanding, you grew up in kind of Miami, and you're not there now. Now you're in Austin, I think.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about your journey in getting there. Like, were you always athletic? Is this something that you've just kind of always done? How did that progress for you?
I definitely always grew up active. I think my household was really big on like always, using your body, having something like of passion to do.
Yeah.
So I was kind of jumping around hobbies, but I was mostly a dancer as a kid.
Oh,
Grew up as a dancer, and then I got my first couple injuries dancing. Like I'll never forget, like my knees used to kill me. I remember I
mm,
sprained my knees once, and I remember I took like this huge fall on the elbow that like
yeah.
kind of like irritated my shoulder. So even though I stayed active, I always kind of felt like tweaks and icks and like I actually broke my back when I was 12, really
Oh,
long
geez.
story. But
Yeah.
I think all of that, like being active and having injuries so young, kind of like led its way to when I did want to start learning about fitness training. I was like, okay, I want to do this the proper way. Because like
Yeah.
anything, there's a wrong way and a better way to do things.
Yeah.
I hate using right or wrongs because, in the fitness world, there's so much nuance too, but there's definitely wrong ways to do things. You can break your back lifting.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is what you talk about a lot is you do things differently, I think, than a lot of people, and you
Mm.
spend a lot of time on kind of functional fitness and things that you need in day to day. Maybe how did that develop for you? Is it because of that, a big kind of things that you learned as you went through kind of injuries and some of those health things, or is it just something that you also just enjoy doing it that way too? Because you do stuff a little bit differently than some traditional trainers when you see what you do online and things like that.
Yeah. I think it was more of a natural path.
Hmm.
And especially too, I think when most people start studying fitness training, especially in an exercise sports science university setting,
Yep.
everything that we're taught, it's very linear. And of course, we're taught like you should move out of the linear.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like we're just taught basic lifts. We're taught, accessory exercises to complement your basic lifts. But I
Yeah.
think even in the exercise sports science world, we see strength training in particular as like you do it with a barbell or dumbbells.
Mm.
And it's sagittal. Maybe you'll move like side to side just a little bit. But I remember feeling in the first couple years of me really getting into weight training, I remember feeling like things were just off. And I
Mm.
think a lot of it was of like just natural imbalances that a lot of us have, and especially anybody that has like a dance background,
Hmm.
or like a sports background where you have to like have a lot of movement and global movement. A lot of
Yeah.
people that are dancers have scoliosis. So I
Yeah.
think that was like the underlying reason for me. Every time I'd get under a barbell or do like very conventional exercises for a while, I was like, something just feels off.
Yeah.
And I remember as much like as I knew about the body, like I couldn't figure out how to like strengthen my knees.
Yeah.
Like there's many in the fitness world where like, okay, you know, you should look at like the hip if your knees bother you, or you should look at your ankle. But like there was just like a lot of missing links that I
Hmm.
felt going on. So I think noticing that there was like more potential to learn and more potential to grow, that was like there's like a missing link going on here. And that's where I found functional fitness. I was
Yeah.
like, hold on. I'm like, people are moving around like in completely different positions. Like you could snatch something and then like bend over and like touch your foot.
Yeah.
And then I think the animal flow as well. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with the animal flow, but it's like a ground-based movement practice for anybody that doesn't know. We like to describe it as like breakdancing and yoga
Hmm.
kind of had a baby. But that as well, like seeing that you're able to like have strength and control in the most interesting positions and like using the knees and your toes. Yeah, that to me was just like, whoa, like here's the
Yeah.
missing link.
And how much of that, I mean, yeah, a lot of what you're talking about is also just body weight movement and body
Yeah.
weight. Like it's not like you're lifting, like even you do a lot of pull-ups and movement that way, but you also just are using your body weight for a lot of those things that you do. Is that, and I would think most people, like it's very accessible, I guess, to do some
Yeah.
of the things that you do, right?
hmm All you
Yeah.
need is your hands and your feet, maybe a yoga mat. But that's what I think is the beauty of it. I think a lot of times we get ourselves in a mental framework where we're like, okay, I need a gym, or you know,
Mhm.
I need all of these tools to actually get in an exercise. When I think like the most fundamental thing is like you don't need anything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just have your body and you can do it anywhere.
Yeah. And how has that, I mean, for you, you have lots of people that follow what you do and obviously learn from you. What's that been like for you, knowing that there's probably been lots of people who have gone through injury troubles or some kind of medical troubles and things like that, that find this way of being able to do something differently with their body? What's that been like for you, knowing, seeing not just yourself benefiting, but all these other people, like literally hundreds of people are following what you do all the time?
Honestly, I think sometimes since I mostly work with my one-on-one people, I kind of like, honestly, I think I lose sight of like, wow, like the social media is actually more impactful than we remember. But
Hmm.
anytime somebody slides into my DMs and they're like, hey, just wanted to let you know, like I've been working on mobility movements or XYZ for a while, and like my back pain has been gone for 2 years, like that to me just makes me feel like I'm super like aligned with my purpose. And
Yeah.
I think it's hard to like see the volume of it, especially after so many years.
Hmm.
But like to me, it just makes me feel like I'm like actually living my life's purpose. Like I would love it as if I could provide every person with just the tools to get out of pain. I think we in the fitness world, especially as trainers, people get so caught up on like the bodybuilding culture,
Yeah.
transformation culture, weight loss, how to gain muscle, how to bulk, you know, all these different things. And now we have like Ozempic and like all these different
Mhm.
things on like how to change your body, which is phenomenal. I think a lot of us get into fitness trying to change our body, but I think we forget that so many people live in pain, and I feel like they're so underserviced. And the
Yeah.
way that our like modern Western medical system takes care of people with pain is like honestly like it doesn't even match like the actual science. Like when you look at the science, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, pain is actually a problem of the brain. Then like why are we like drugging these people trying to like okay, yes, like the science is like, let's dull these signals from the brain to
Hmm.
like, you know, dull the pain. But really, for a lot of people, um, yes, people have chronic pain and people deal with different things. But even my clients that have had pain for years, once they start moving their body in different ways and like
Hmm.
working with a professional that understands how like your neck is connected to your back and then your back's connected to the hip, like just actually getting into the nitty gritty of it, aside from just being like, okay, we're just gonna drug people for pain. I think that's like one of the biggest missing links. And I think too, I think the way that we try to treat pain is also like we try to focus on like, okay, your shoulder hurts. We're just gonna focus on their shoulder. Like so
Mm,
much connected to that shoulder.
yeah.
You have like
It's
stuff going
often
on
an
with the
outcome of
elbow.
something else that's happened too.
Yes, the
So yeah.
wrist, the neck, the spine. Is
Hmm.
the person even breathing correctly? So
Yeah.
yeah, I love all of that. It's my passion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you do have a big community that is, I mean, you have been doing social media stuff for a long enough time that you do have a lot of influence. You do have a lot of people there. Um, what what does that create for you? I mean, what does community mean to what you do and to your business and all of those things too? Like how important is that? Because you have built kind of this large group, large following, but it is a bit of a community because of what you do as well. How important is that
Mhm.
for you?
Oh my God, it's everything. And I think what's so cool about social media nowadays, like for example, I just went to Mexico City and I connected with a trainer who's in the same space, functional movement,
Yeah.
kettlebell niche. And we just like we got to bond like if we'd known each other forever. So I think it's like the beauty of it connecting you with like-minded people and then
Hmm.
having those like-minded people in real life as well. That to me is so beautiful. And then like having people supporting each other's journey because I think a lot of times too, like you said, I've been in the space for a long time. A lot of people like
Yeah.
know me as like the movement girly or the mobility coach or the
Yeah.
kettlebell person.
Yeah.
And like I'm a normal person too. I have times where I'm like I don't want to do anything, I don't want to do exercise, like I'm in a funk, but then I look to people in my community, I'm like wow, or for example, I have a friend who she lives in the Philippines.
Hmm.
The first time she ever did like a proper fitness training course online was like my one of my first programs, and it inspired her to become an animal flow coach. So she
Yeah.
started doing animal flow, and now she's like a huge pillar of her community. She does
Hmm.
rope flow coaching as well. She also throws DJ parties where she gets everybody like dancing and flowing and doing all the movement together. But just seeing how my own little community has like sparked other ones as well. And then
Yeah.
like the goal is for me to go hang out with her in the Philippines, go to the classes, and like hopefully she'll do a DJ set. But that's combining the work with the fun together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
that's interesting because a lot of people we have, whether you're successful in kind of your realm or in business, we have lots of entrepreneurs, lots of CEOs, things like that. Um, they often talk about how important it is to surround yourself with kind of those not just like-minded people, but maybe like-minded in the way that you want to be able
Yeah.
to kind of develop yourself. And it's funny that we've had Angela on before on our show, and she's friends with you, and I think of that as an example of people that obviously are very similar, high performing kind of people. How important is that though, from your end to make sure you surround yourself with those types of people?
Absolutely everything. And I think there's a saying, I know most of us have heard it, but I love to remind myself of it. You are the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. And I'm actually going to go hang out with Angela today as soon as she's done with work.
Well, there you go.
But I think to me, it's so beautiful, especially if you're somebody that yes, our careers are similar. We can have like different things to aspire towards. But I think a lot of it is having that soundboard of someone that you trust, somebody
Mhm.
that gets you, somebody that's been through similar experiences and challenges as you. And then I think Angela and I are also getting to the same point where like both of us are realizing like we want a more similar life than we thought of previously in the past. So like now we're gonna hold hands together as we make like big decisions. And the other day, like she came up to me and she's like, you know what? I'm thinking about like changing my mind and pivoting on this huge project. And I'm like, does it align with your goals? She's like, yeah, I'm like, go for it. But those are the types of people in your life that when you're at like a fork in the road, you know who to trust and they know they're going to guide you with like the best, almost like a mentor. Like your
Yeah,
friends sometimes become mentors to you. But yeah, I love that. And especially like right now, we're going to go soak up some vitamin D as soon as this overcast,
yeah.
clears. So I think it's like really um, having that like-mindedness in the lifestyle as well. Like aside
Mhm.
from goals, aside from aspiration, aside from like, yes, having similar personality and interests, like not many people want to take breaks in the day to go soak up vitamin D and
Mhm.
stretch. So to
Yeah.
me, that just makes me feel like, again, like I'm aligned with my purpose, I'm balanced, I'm really trying to maximize my time in the day and like spend it with important people. Yeah, my friends are really important to me, especially the friends that I've made in like this fitness community. They're also
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Hmm.
And obviously you touched on it there, but are you a write your goals down kind of person? Are you a go with the flow, kind of see what comes up kind of thing? How do you approach goal setting for yourself? And then maybe after that, with your clients, how do you help them be able to figure out what's realistic goals for them? So, starting with you though.
So I would say I'm a little bit of like a mix of both. So I mostly go with the flow, but
Hmm.
if I recognize a plan, I kind of hyper focus. I mostly try to save all of my like my particular tendencies for when it comes to work projects. So when it comes to a work project, like I have a plan of action, I have dates, I have everything lined up. But then when it comes to my personal life, I think I definitely more go with the flow. And then when it comes to my clients, I think we try to like match those things together because like yes, I'm like it is my business to make sure we're getting those goals, but like they're also human and people and they have like
Sure.
and it's we're working with their body, you know, it's not like we're working with like a business plan and it's all going to be like
Hmm.
cut and dry. Like for example, one of my clients were on a she loves deadlifting and her goal right now is just to get super strong. So we were on a deadlifting program. Her back got irritated with deadlifting. So of course as the coach, I'm like we need like a very clear plan to like get you where you want to be. But she was actually kind of like, she was like, we maybe we should just wing it.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm like, okay, so I think it's matching the planning with going with the flow for the personal training, or else I don't think there would ever be any progress. Because if you get so hung up on just trying to hit a goal the
Hmm.
way that you think is the right way, I think you're losing sight of other things.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
example, like some of my clients right now, their goal is a pull up. Shout out to Angela. Their
Yeah.
goal is a pull up, but then if something else comes up, we might have to like pivot, but then still focus on the pull up,
Yeah.
pivot for something else, and kind of like play that dancing game. I think it's more of a tango for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's a great way to put it because I guess that leads me into the other question that I have is you can have a very specific goal for your fitness or something like that, but we all know that different seasons of life, seasons of a year, things like that, things change, your priorities change at different times, and that's okay. Um,
Yeah.
how do you personally approach that when you obviously have your own fitness goals, you have your business goals, you have friendship and things that you want to do outside of that. Um, how do you try to balance those things, or can you, how do you approach it from that perspective, from your end?
So, not to boast, but my friends say that that's like one of my superpowers.
Hmm?
But I think part of it is because I'm really good at compartmentalizing. So, like,
Yeah,
as soon as I'm done with work, I'm like, cut, done.
yeah,
Don't even want to think about it. Almost to a flaw because I'll be hanging out with somebody and they'll ask me something about work. And I love my job. Like, this is my passion. I'm grateful that I'm one of these people that lives their passion and is
yeah,
able to like make a living off of it. But I'll tell them straight up, I'm like, I don't want to talk about work at all. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm trying to focus on this movie. We have popcorn here. Like, I'll talk to my clients when I see them. Don't even want
yeah,
to think about them.
yeah.
But I think for as far as managing all of the goals, I feel like I try to like I think of like that Einstein quote, like you only know something if you could explain it to a 5-year-old. So I
Mhm.
think I'm like overly simplistic when it comes to like organizing everything. I think
Yeah.
that's like my my skill
I
set.
don't think that's I don't think it's overly simplistic. I think being able to be simple about those things is a superpower. Like that is something that people struggle with, and to be able to convey it to other people that's the best way, is to make it as simple as possible. So
Yeah. And like
that
to add on to
yeah,
your
yeah.
question as well, like right now I'm in a time of my life where like I'm trying to focus more on like my own free time and like what I'm doing
Mhm.
in the evenings. And all of my friends are like, how do you have time to do so much stuff? And like I paint it as like a little pie chart. I'm like, this is your work life. This is like your self-care. You
Yeah.
have the evenings to do things.
Hmm.
And like you also have, you know, like your like everything else. Like if you organize your life
Yeah.
correctly and you prioritize all the aspects of your life, ideally we should be able to make things fit.
Well, and a lot of people say about if you treat those other aspects the same way, like a lot of people treat their work very differently than they treat their other time, their personal time, their own
Absolutely.
fitness, any of those things. If you protect those time periods like you would a work time, then
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing. Um, how do you like when you were starting this as an entrepreneur or business owner, sometimes that can be difficult. I mean, if you're a trainer and you're used to doing kind of that type of work, going in and doing business stuff and doing what you do where it's online and all of those things, there's a lot of learning that has to happen from that. Is there something that stands out as, wow, that was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be? Or is there something that you think, wow, I've really learned so much in that area that I didn't expect I would?
Oh man, I know a lot about email marketing that I wish I didn't. I wish I knew less about funnels and
Yeah,
building websites. But yeah, all of that was honestly a doozy.
yeah,
Like even figuring out how to like integrate websites to each other and connect things and
yeah,
properly, like have things send automatically. I think that was definitely the biggest hurdle. And then funny enough, now like 5, 6, 7 years later, it's like second nature to me. I'm just like doing it all
yeah.
in the back end. But yeah, I think that was the most unexpected thing. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge for a lot of trainers, like realizing
Hmm.
like, oh wait, like I'm not just working people out. I have to be a whole entrepreneur right now and like
Yeah.
do accounting. But I do like the accounting part. I always help out new business owners with their accounting.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a good thing to have because that's often the part where people fall down a little bit or don't have the same understanding of it and everything too. So if you're
Hmm.
good at it, that's great that you give that back to other people too. So really important. The other thing that like what it sounds like you're very good at compartmentalizing and all those things, but from just a fitness and nutrition standpoint, um, what is a normal day for you? Like, is it
Ooh.
or is there a normal day? Like, is it okay, I work out every day at this time, and then I go do my business, and then I go do that, or does it mix and flow? How does that work for you?
I pretty much have like a pretty decent template on most days.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit like robotic when it comes to
Yep.
my routine. So like
Yeah.
I wake up at 6:45, I do all the hygiene things, take out my dog, do breakfast, and then usually I'll have a morning client or two.
Hmm.
And then after that, I have lunch at noon. And then after lunch, I usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to the gym. Well, honestly, I go almost all days, but Monday,
Hmm.
Wednesday, Friday is like strength training. So like
Yep.
it's a very specific time. So I'll do that at 1:30.
Hmm.
And then usually around like 3:30, 4-ish, I'll have my last client of the day.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then I have dinner at like immediately after I'm done working. I'm like starving. So like
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock, I'm having dinner. And all my friends think I'm so old. They're like, you have dinner at 6? I'm like, I'm starving. I don't know what you want me to do.
I guess that's true, right? Depending on what circles you're in, they're thinking that's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock is more by the time they do that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, very interesting. And
Kind of a
and
robot.
yeah, well, and that's it. Is I think a lot of people that do it well are a little more robotic about it and everything too.
Hmm.
So at least they have routines that keep them on track. So um one of the things that we do kind of with everybody we talk to is to leave a couple of tips and things like that. And I think especially considering the type of work you do, and it's very kind of functional fitness based, very much what fits, I think, for people and depending on kind of what level they're at. We're also at a time, I mean, we're talking it's the start of February, and most of the big rush of everybody, being on track for all of January or the first 3 weeks of January. And right now is about the time people start falling off, start figuring out that, okay, I haven't been able to create habits that are sticking. Do you have some tips on if people are trying to restart that or maybe even start it now? A couple of things that they can do that start those habits that you've been talking about?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you guys four. I was only going to do three, but the fourth one is itching.
Yeah,
Number one is start your day with water. I know a lot of us skip it. We go to caffeine or we're just like dry.
yeah,
I know most of us go straight to the caffeine, but
yeah.
start your day with water before the caffeine. And then if you are a caffeine drinker, try to eat a little bit before your caffeine. It's better for your metabolism and your belly. Second thing is try to have at least 20 grams of protein in every meal. Even if you're not somebody that wants to be a bodybuilder, having sufficient muscle mass is super important for aging properly. Like every decade, we lose a crap ton of muscle mass. So just thinking of that as like a maintenance thing, like muscle is for life. You want to be old and strong.
Yeah.
And then the third one is going on evening walks. If you can go on evening walks, even if it's a morning walk, just pick a time of day where you can, even if it's 10 minutes, 20, 30, an hour, even better. And then lastly, work out with your friends. Like if you're someone that's trying to go be more fit and active, having that as a social time and then bonding with somebody and actually having it on each other's schedule for accountability, it's going
Yeah.
to make it so that not only do you show up, but you're going to get that positive reinforcement of like, wow, this was actually fun. I actually enjoyed myself.
Yeah, yeah, it's a social
Mhm.
connection at the same time as
Yeah.
being able to do that. And actually, that is one thing is that obviously people see the you and see probably a very kind of you know funny kind of happy connections. When you see a lot of your videos and things like that, you're having fun. So people could probably see that you have fun when you do this stuff. But is there
Yeah.
something that when people who've maybe been part of your community and see you for a long time, is there something that you think that might be surprising to them that maybe, oh, here's something they don't know about Francesca that from just what's portrayed, something that maybe, they would find odd or different that they wouldn't expect.
You reminded me, this happened to me last month, like twice. I walked into the gym, just like not feeling like super enthused, just like
Hmm.
having like a normal day. My friends stopped me like if I was having a seizure. They're like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But I think it's yeah, I just like that thing where people that come off jovial, like we're also normal. Sometimes I have bad days. Don't make me
Yeah.
feel like I'm supposed to like pretend to be jovial. Like don't make me fake it now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, really. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Because they probably because you're like that, they assume every day they're going to see that same person, and unlike
Hmm.
everybody else, that's
And
not it, right?
honestly, what really surprised them is that I was sassy. So I think that's probably the real surprise
Hmm.
there is that
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'll stab you."
I'm just as snappy as the next person. It's the
I'm like,
morning.
"Don't
It
forget,
happens.
I'm Colombian. I'll stab
Yeah,
you."
yeah, that's true. That's great. All right. So if people are trying to like, I'm sure there's lots of people that would be interested in following you if they're not already, and seeing some of your programs and what you do and things like that. What are the best ways of being able to do that, Francesca?
Check me out on Instagram at FrancheskaFit. I'll have everything linked on there. But yeah, I have great programs. I have a new strength program that just came out for anybody that wants to come work out. It's 3 months, and I think it's the best. So
All right. And we'll put the links in the show notes. So if you didn't get that right away, just go in there, click through and absolutely do it and follow Francesca because your content is always fun and really cool to see. So no matter what, they're going to be entertained and hopefully they also decide to change themselves and maybe connect with your programs as well. But again, I know you're super busy and very regimented with your schedule, so I appreciate you taking some time with us today to do that. But thanks for having a conversation and being really open about it. I really appreciate it, Francesca.
thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure.
All right. And everybody else, we will talk again on Big Idea, Big Moves.